She never expected that driving home from her night shift at the hospital would make her the most talked-about person in America. Within 12 hours of the traffic stop, the dashboard camera footage had been shared across every social media platform imaginable. By morning, 50 million people had watched Officer Mitchell's words echo through their screens. The comment section exploded. News anchors dissected every second, and Dr. Sarah Chen sat in her living room, staring at her phone as notification after notification flooded in, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. The footage started simply enough. Red and blue lights reflecting off a wet highway. A silver sedan pulling over onto the shoulder. What happened next would spark a national conversation about accountability, respect, and the power of technology to expose truth. Before we go further into what happened that night, let us know where you're watching from. Are you tuning in from New York, Los Angeles, London, Toronto, or somewhere else entirely? Drop your city in the comments below. This story has resonated with people across the world, and we want to know where our community is watching from. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear gets even more intense. It was March 15th when Dr. Sarah Chen finished her 12-hour shift at Metropolitan General Hospital. She had spent the evening treating patients in the emergency room, including a car accident victim, 2 heart attack cases, and a child with severe pneumonia. Her scrubs were stained, her feet ached, and all she wanted was to get home to her family. Her husband was waiting up, and her 2 daughters were asleep in their beds. It was 11:45 at night when she merged onto Highway 27, heading toward the suburbs. Sarah had been driving for 15 minutes when she noticed the police cruiser behind her. She checked her speedometer, 53 in a 55 zone. Her registration was current, her license was valid, her insurance was paid. She had done nothing wrong, but her heart rate still quickened. As a black woman, she had been taught by her parents, like so many others, about how to behave during traffic stops. Keep your hands visible, be polite. Don't make sudden movements. Stay calm even when your pulse is racing. The lights came on suddenly, painting the interior of her car in alternating colors. Sarah took a deep breath, put on her turn signal, and pulled over carefully onto the shoulder. She rolled down her window, placed both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2, and waited. Officer David Mitchell had been with the Riverside County Police Department for 8 years. His record showed 3 commendations and 2 complaints that had been dismissed during internal investigations. He was 42 years old, married with 1 son, and according to his personnel file, he had completed all required training modules including bias awareness and community relations. None of that would matter after tonight. What neither of them knew was that Sarah's dashcam was recording everything. The device had been a gift from her husband after a minor fender bender the previous year. It captured video and audio with crystal clarity, storing everything on a cloud server. The camera was recording as Officer Mitchell approached her window with his flashlight. Sarah watched in her side mirror as the officer walked toward her vehicle. His hand rested on his belt as he approached. When he reached her window, he shined the flashlight directly into her face, causing her to squint. "License and registration," he said without greeting. "Good evening, officer." Sarah replied calmly. "May I ask why I was pulled over? I'll ask the questions here. License and registration, now." Sarah reached slowly for her purse, narrating her movements. "I'm reaching for my purse now. My wallet is inside." Her hands were steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Officer Mitchell snatched the documents from her hand when she offered them. He examined her license under his flashlight, then looked at her face, then back at the license. "Dr. Sarah Chen," he read aloud, his tone dripping with skepticism. "You're a doctor?" "Yes, sir. I work at Metropolitan General. I just finished my shift." He laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Right, and I'm the president. What are you really doing out here this time of night?" Sarah felt her stomach tighten. "I told you, officer, I'm a physician in the emergency department. I work night shifts twice a week. I'm heading home to my family." "This your car?" he asked, shining his light around the interior of her well-maintained vehicle. "Yes, sir. It's registered in my name." He walked around to the back of her car and she heard him talking into his radio, running her plates. Everything would come back clean. She knew it would. But that didn't ease the knot in her chest. When he returned to her window, his attitude hadn't improved. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered. "Officer, with all due respect, I'd like to know what violation I've committed. I wasn't speeding. My tags are current. What is the reason for this stop?" His jaw clenched. "You want to know the reason? Your tail light is out. Now step out of the car before I charge you with obstruction." Sarah knew her tail lights worked perfectly. She had just replaced both bulbs 2 weeks ago. But she also knew that arguing on the side of a dark highway would accomplish nothing. She unbuckled her seatbelt slowly and opened her door. "Officer, I'm going to record this interaction on my phone for both of our protection," she said, reaching for her cell phone in the center console. "Put that phone down," he shouted. "Hands where I can see them. I have the legal right to record a traffic stop." Sarah said, her voice remarkably steady, "You have the right to follow my instructions. Now turn around and put your hands on the vehicle." This was escalating in a way that terrified her. Sarah had heard too many stories, seen too many videos, attended too many funerals. She complied, placing her hands on the roof of her car. The metal was cold against her palms. Officer Mitchell patted her down, his movements rough and aggressive. She was wearing hospital scrubs, a light jacket, and tennis shoes. There was nowhere she could have concealed anything dangerous, but he took his time with the search anyway. "You got anything illegal in the car? Drugs? Weapons?" he asked. "No, sir. Nothing illegal." "We'll see about that. You mind if I search your vehicle?" "Actually, I do mind. I don't consent to a search. I haven't committed any crime, and I'd like to continue home to my family." His face darkened. "Oh, you're one of those. Think you know your rights. Think you're better than everyone else because you got some fancy degree. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. I don't care what you think you are. Out here on this highway, I'm the one in charge, not you. Not whatever affirmative action program got you through medical school." The words hung in the air like poison. The dashcam captured every syllable. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her composure. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but firm. "Officer, I'm going to ask you one more time. What is the specific violation you stopped me for? Because my tail lights are functioning properly. I wasn't speeding, and you've provided no legitimate reason for detaining me." "The reason is I said so," he shot back. "And you're starting to make me real suspicious with all this attitude. Maybe I should call a K-9 unit down here. See what they find. We could be here all night. That's harassment, officer, and I believe racial profiling." He stepped closer to her, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper that the dashcam barely picked up. "You think because you got a medical degree and a nice car that you're special. You think you're different from the others I deal with every night. Let me explain something to you. You're driving through my county, and you follow my rules. You don't like it. Maybe you should move back to wherever your people came from." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had been born in Ohio. Her parents had been born in California. Her grandparents had come to America in the 1950s. This was her country. This was her home. And this man was treating her like she didn't belong. "I'm an American citizen," she said quietly. "I was born in Cleveland. I'm a taxpayer, a physician, a mother, and a member of this community. I don't deserve to be treated this way." Officer Mitchell seemed to realize he had gone too far. His demeanor shifted slightly, but the damage was done. "Just get back in your car," he muttered. "I'm letting you off with a warning. Get that tail light fixed." "My tail light is not broken." "It looked broken to me. Now leave before I change my mind about that warning." Sarah got back into her car with shaking hands. She waited until Officer Mitchell returned to his cruiser before she allowed herself to cry. She sat there on the shoulder of the highway for 10 full minutes, sobbing, releasing the fear and humiliation and rage that she had held inside. Then she wiped her eyes, started her engine, and drove home. Build-up and development. She didn't tell her husband the full story that night. She was too exhausted, too emotionally drained, but but she couldn't sleep. At 3 in the morning, she was sitting at her kitchen table with her laptop, downloading the dashcam footage. She watched it once, then twice, then a third time. Each viewing made her angrier. Sarah had spent years working to become a doctor. She had excelled in undergraduate studies, aced the MCAT, survived the brutal hours of medical school and residency. She had chosen emergency medicine because she wanted to help people in their most vulnerable moments. She had treated police officers injured in the line of duty. She had saved lives without ever asking about someone's background, beliefs, or behavior. And this was how she was treated when she tried to drive home from work. By 6 in the morning, she had made a decision. She uploaded the footage to multiple platforms simultaneously. She wrote a simple caption, "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm an emergency room physician. Last night, this happened when I was driving home from my shift at Metropolitan General Hospital. I'm sharing this because this needs to stop. For all of us." She posted it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Then she closed her laptop and went to check on her sleeping daughters. The video started spreading within the first hour. A few hundred views became a few thousand. By noon, it had hit 1 million. News outlets began reaching out to Sarah for interviews. Her phone rang constantly. The hospital administration called to offer their support. Civil rights organizations contacted her legal representation. By the end of the first day, the video had been viewed 50 million times. The comment sections across every platform were on fire. People shared their own stories of similar encounters. Others defended Officer Mitchell, claiming Sarah must have done something to provoke him. Legal experts analyzed every frame, pointing out multiple violations of protocol and civil rights. The hashtag Stand with Dr. Chen trended worldwide. The Riverside County Police Department issued a brief statement saying they were aware of the video and conducting an internal investigation. That response only fueled more outrage. People wanted answers. They wanted accountability. They wanted change. News crews camped outside Sarah's house. She gave one interview to a major network, sitting in her living room, still wearing her hospital scrubs from another shift. The interviewer asked her what she wanted to happen next. "I want Officer Mitchell to be held accountable for his actions," Sarah said calmly. "But more than that, I want systemic change. I want training that actually prevents this from happening. I want officers who abuse their authority to face real consequences. I want my daughters to grow up in a country where they can drive home from work without fear. That's what I want." The interview clip was shared another 20 million times. Officer Mitchell was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. His name became national news. Reporters dug into his background and found the 2 previous complaints that had been dismissed. They interviewed the complainants, who told remarkably similar stories of verbal abuse and racial profiling. The police union issued a statement supporting Mitchell and claiming he was being unfairly targeted. That statement backfired spectacularly. Protests erupted outside the Riverside County Police Department headquarters. Hundreds of people showed up with signs demanding Mitchell's termination. Similar demonstrations happened in cities across the country. Sarah's story had touched a nerve, exposing a wound that had never properly healed. The dashcam footage was analyzed by use of force experts who confirmed that Officer Mitchell had violated department policy in multiple ways. He had extended a traffic stop without reasonable suspicion. He had made overtly racist comments. He had threatened to prolong the detention as punishment for Sarah asserting her rights. Legal analysts on cable news explained that Sarah would have grounds for a civil rights lawsuit, though she had not yet indicated whether she would pursue legal action. Politicians weighed in. Some called for police reform. Others defended law enforcement while condemning Mitchell's specific actions. The debate raged on social media, in coffee shops, at dinner tables across America and beyond. Everyone had an opinion about what the video meant and what should happen next. Sarah returned to work at the hospital, though she was recognized everywhere she went now. Patients thanked her for speaking out. Colleagues offered their support. The hospital security team, quietly enhanced protection around the emergency department after receiving several threatening phone calls directed at Sarah. 3 weeks after the traffic stop, the Riverside County Police Department completed its investigation. The chief of police held a press conference announcing that Officer David Mitchell was being terminated from the department, effective immediately. The department also announced a comprehensive review of all traffic stop procedures and mandatory bias training for all officers. Dr. Chen was treated in a manner that is completely unacceptable and contrary to our values, the chief said, reading from a prepared statement. We hold our officers to the highest standards of professional conduct, and Officer Mitchell failed to meet those standards. We apologize to Dr. Chen and commit to doing better. But the story didn't end there. In a surprising turn of events 2 days after the press conference, something happened that nobody anticipated. Sarah received a letter. It was handwritten, delivered through her attorney to protect her privacy and safety. The letter was from Officer David Mitchell. In it, he didn't make excuses. He didn't claim he was misunderstood or taken out of context. Instead, he wrote something that shocked everyone who eventually read it when Sarah chose to share it publicly. Dr. Chen, I owe you an apology that words cannot adequately express. I treated you with profound disrespect and cruelty. I abused the authority entrusted to me by my community. I let my own biases, prejudices, and failures as a human being dictate my actions that night. There is no excuse for what I said or how I treated you. You were absolutely correct in everything you said to me. You deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and I failed completely. I have lost my career, and I deserve that consequence. But more importantly, I contributed to a system of injustice that harmed innocent people. I need you to know that I am seeking counseling to address the attitudes and beliefs that led to my behavior. I am working to understand how I became someone capable of treating another human being the way I treated you. I don't ask for your forgiveness because I haven't earned it. But I want you to know that I am deeply, truly sorry. And I hope that my failure and its consequences will serve as a lesson to other officers that this behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. You are an extraordinary person for speaking out despite the risk and criticism you knew you would face. You are making a difference. Thank you for your courage. When Sarah shared the letter publicly, it added another layer to an already complex story. Some people praised Mitchell for taking responsibility. Others felt the apology didn't go far enough or came too late. Cynics suggested it was a calculated move to improve his chances in potential future employment or to reduce liability in anticipated lawsuits. Sarah issued her own statement in response. I appreciate that Mr. Mitchell has acknowledged his behavior was wrong. Real change requires both systemic reform and individual accountability. I hope his reflection is genuine and leads to real personal growth. But one apology, no matter how sincere, doesn't undo decades of similar incidents that never get recorded or reported. We have so much work to do. 6 months after the traffic stop, the dashcam video had been viewed over 200 million times globally. It had become a case study in police academies and law schools. It was referenced in legislative hearings about police reform. It sparked conversations in living rooms and boardrooms about implicit bias, accountability, and the power of documentation. The Riverside County Police Department implemented new policies requiring all officers to wear body cameras that could not be turned off during interactions with the public. They established an independent civilian review board to investigate complaints. They partnered with community organizations to develop better training programs focused on de-escalation and cultural competency. Sarah continued working in the emergency room, saving lives and training the next generation of physicians. She also became an advocate for police reform, testifying before legislative committees and speaking at conferences about her experience. She established a scholarship fund for students from underrepresented backgrounds pursuing careers in medicine or law. Her daughters grew up knowing their mother's story. They learned that speaking truth to power requires courage but also comes with costs. They learned that one person's voice, amplified by technology and supported by community, can create ripples of change that spread farther than anyone imagines. The traffic stop that lasted 23 minutes on a dark highway became a moment that changed countless lives. It changed Sarah's life forever, transforming her from a private physician into a public figure. It ended David Mitchell's law enforcement career and forced him to confront deeply held prejudices. It sparked a national movement demanding accountability and reform. But perhaps most importantly, it reminded millions of people watching from their phones and computers across the world that injustice thrives in darkness and withers in light. Every share of that video was an act of solidarity. Every comment demanding change was a small step toward a more just society. Every person who watched and said this is not acceptable contributed to a collective awakening. As Sarah reflected a year later in an interview, sitting in the same living room where she had first uploaded the footage, she said something that resonated deeply. "I didn't ask to become a symbol or a spokesperson. I just wanted to drive home from work safely. But sometimes life puts you in a position where you have a choice: stay silent or speak up. I chose to speak up because too many people before me didn't have the evidence, the platform, or the support to do so. Their stories matter just as much as mine. We remember them. We honor them by continuing to demand better. We create change so that fewer people have to experience what I experienced that night." The story of Officer Mitchell and Dr. Sarah Chen became more than a viral video. It became a touchstone for conversations about race, power, accountability, and change. It demonstrated the complex humanity on all sides of these encounters. It showed that transformation is possible, even when it comes at great cost. And it proved that in the age of technology, truth has a way of refusing to stay hidden. So where do we go from here? That's the question Sarah asks at the end of every speech she gives. The video reached 50 million views overnight. But sustainable change takes years, decades, generations. It requires each person who watched that footage to examine their own biases, to speak up when they witness injustice, to support systemic reforms that create accountability, and to never become complacent. The dashcam captured 23 minutes on a highway, but those 23 minutes continue to echo through time, challenging us to build a society where dignity and respect are not privileges, but guarantees. Where no one has to be afraid driving home from work, where authority comes with genuine accountability, where Dr. Sarah Chen and everyone like her can simply be who they are without justification, explanation, or fear. That traffic stop changed everything. But the work of ensuring it leads to lasting change continues every single day, in every community, with every interaction, one conversation, one policy change, one moment of accountability at a time. Before you go, we want to hear from you. Have you or someone you know experienced something similar? How has this story impacted your perspective? Let us know in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories that matter, because these conversations are how we create change together. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for being part of the solution.